it all. And I think, thank you for all of this. But we have learned that what you do, they want you to have more than you can eat, and you eat what you feel like you can, and they will peel your banana down for you. They will also peel your orange for you, do everything but put it in your mouth. This is hospitality in the Middle East. And so you eat what you can, and then you leave the rest on your plate, and it is not wasted, because it goes back to the kitchen and somebody else will, I'm sure, eat it. But what that tells to them, that you have had plenty. Because if you eat it all up, they don't know that you have not had enough. You might still be hungry. And it's the same way at a meal in a home. Of course, you know, as I said, I tried so hard not to offend, and whatever they brought, lamb or soup, or even though I didn't like it, I said, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to try really hard, you know, to eat it. And I would just eat and eat, and as soon as I finished my soup bowl, they'd come and put some more in it. So I thought, what do I do now, you know? So I'd eat and eat. And finally I told Viola, my interpreter, I said, what is it? I said, I tell them no in Arabic and in English, and it doesn't work. And she said, well, Wayne, you have to learn to leave a little bit on your plate, and then they know you've had plenty. And so I always left a bite or two at least on my plate, and then they know that I've been satisfied. So all of these little things you have to learn the hard way. we did. But their hospitality, I don't think, can be beat anywhere in the world. And it's very important to them to be able to serve you. They feel very honored to have you in their home. They love Americans, most of them. I guess they still do here, they did. And they feel very honored to be able to serve you and to have you in their home. But before you leave, you can never leave a home unless you have the little cup of Arabic coffee, Turkish coffee or whatever. And it settles down to about the bottom half of the cup. So you only have about this much of the cup. I know it's pretty strong. And if you don't like coffee, you drink it anyway. Because this really does have meaning. I think we drink coffee because we like coffee or tea. And it doesn't have any meaning tied to it that much. But for them, if you drink coffee with them, you are on the same plane with them. And they tell you, welcome, welcome, we're glad to have you in our home. And that you're really telling them, I want to be your friend. And I like this because sometimes they put us too far above. They think, you're an American, you know all things, you know. You're all powerful, you have all the money in the world, and you know, I mean, but this puts us on the same plane. And I thought this was really, really great. But it really means that you want to be my friend. And if you don't drink it, or don't even attempt to take a little sip of it, it means the opposite. I don't really want to be your friend. Now, there's not anything said about this. You just have to know this. And I think there's only one home that we were refused coffee, and Jacob, our song leader and worker, whatever, was with us, Arab, and he just said, Mishma, oh, this is not reasonable. Why didn't the lady get up and fix our coffee? And we sat there and we waited, and she didn't ever fix it. And so we knew what that meant, that we were to leave, but she didn't say a word. She was in the home. They're very kind, you know, very, very nice about it. And so we got up and we left, and we knew that we would never be welcome back in that home. Well, my husband found out the next day the reason. The police knocked on his door and asked him if we had been sending Bible correspondence courses to this home. Isn't that right?
No, that was where the kids wanted us to come. The parents didn't want us to come.
Oh, I thought they were studying the Bible correspondence.
That's right. The children wanted it, but the parents didn't.
Right. And so the children were studying. The parents were Muslims. And so this didn't work too well. But I think that's the only home, isn't that right, that
Yes.
we refused? And so we learned. But it does have a special meaning, and even when you go shopping, you have to drink your coffee. And I know several times I was in a hurry, acted just like an American. They always say, you're always in such a big hurry. You know, we're always in a hurry. But now when it comes to friendship and people, time doesn't mean anything. They always have time for you. And this is one thing that we had a hard time with, is taking time and acting like we didn't have anything else to do, because they were just really important. So that is a very important thing. I don't know whether we'll have it tomorrow night or not, but I'm sure that he will have something in the home.
Is there cinnamon in that?
Sometimes. Mm-hmm. They have a special
Ron and
spice.
I drank some at Bethlehem shop and it had sort of a cinnamon bite to me.
Cardamom seed, they call it.
Cardamom.
Sometime. Now, here again, there's meaning in coffee, according to whatever the occasion is. They might ask you in a home, do you like it medium sweet or very sweet or not sweet at all? But now, if you're at a happy occasion like an engagement or wedding or something that's really pleasant and happy, you have sweet coffee because this is a sweet time. But if you're at a death or a funeral, you never have it because it's a bitter occasion. So here again, everything is according to whatever might be. But food is very important in the culture here, I think, the types of food that they eat. Anybody have anything they'd like to add to that? Or?
Just a question, would you say something about what you learned about keeping things locked when you have visitors over?
Oh, okay. This is something that we also learned in America, of course, when we have guests in our home. We don't worry about them going back in the bedroom and using whatever's on the dresser, you know, or making themselves at home. In other ways, we just don't usually have guests that do that, but it's not quite that way in the Middle East. I went back one time and one of the girls was using my comb and my brush, and I thought, well, if I'd left my toothbrush out, I guess I'd didn't think a thing about it. That's just a part of their way of life. But we also noticed that if you leave mail out, a letter, it doesn't bother them to pick that up and read it. I mean, you know, baiting a bait comb, that's an expression they have that says, our house is your house. And when they're in your house, they're part of your family. I mean, they make themselves at home. And so we had to learn that if we had mail or something that we didn't particularly want them to read, that we would just lock it in the cupboard, as they do. We have been in a lot of homes in Amman or Zerka, Jordan, where they were pretty poor, and they always used to serve chocolate candy with your coffee. This was quite common, and it always made me feel bad because I would see the lady go to the cupboard and unlock it and get out the chocolates just for us, and I wondered if the children ever got any. But now they had to buy it for guests. Somehow they had to get it for guests because that was just so important to them. So they keep things locked too. But that's just something that you learn, and then when they come, put up whatever you don't want them to have, and then wherever they roam through the house, it doesn't matter, right? So you learn to adjust that way.
You don't have to put ping pong balls in the medicine cabinet then.
Ping pong balls?
Somebody did that at somebody's house because they knew they were throwing the medicines. So when they opened up the medicine cabinet, all the ping pong balls.
I've not heard of that. Okay, anybody else have anything that you'd especially like to ask about? There's just so much here. I can't give you 13 years of it. These are just some of the things I think that have helped me. There's meaning in their dresses, especially in the three groups that I gave you tonight. The falahin, which means farmers in Arabic. They're the ones that wear the long thobes, highly embroidered. There was a lady there tonight, right by, you might have seen her, had a beautiful one on, all hand embroidered. And I have a number of them, which I'm thankful I got when I got them. They're very expensive now. But the dress has a meaning. how it's embroidered, the pattern can tell you what village that they are from. They wear the belt, they have the long sleeves that come down to a point, that have the meaning that they use, well, for two things. They have to wear them every time they go outside their home, especially around other men. Now, when you see these long dresses on these village women, even in cold weather, you think, now they don't have a coat on, but you don't know how many clothes they have on underneath. So this is sort of an outer cloak that they always wear when they go out among others, especially men. I know one time Fatma that helped me, in fact, we were on the Mount of Olives, and she, as long as Everett or our son, if they were there, she always kept her thobe on. And when they would leave, she would take it off with just she and I there, and she would have maybe a long flannel dress on underneath that in the winter time to do our work. And one time Everett came home unexpectedly or something, and she ran to put her thobe on, and I said, Fatma, you're just completely covered, you know, long sleeves. And, oh no, but he cannot see me without my thobe. That is not modest. That is not good, you know. And so that's just the way that they feel around any man. And we hung our clothes up on the roof, and she went up there and she put her thobe on. She puts these wet clothes on her head in a basket and walks upstairs. And I said, Fatma, you don't really need your thobe on. There's nobody up in the roof, on the roof. And she said, Bas Allah Hunak, God is up there. Well, I didn't have any answer for that. I thought, well, okay, just don't say anything about that. But they feel very, very strongly about that. So modesty, especially for these Muslim women, the village women, which we really did appreciate. They're extremely modest, and it means a lot to them. I know I've seen tourists here in the summertime that, just terribly embarrassing to us. American women would come with no backs in their dresses, spaghetti straps, you know what I mean. I mean, very immodest, and it's extremely immodest to the Arab men for women to wear sleeveless, anything sleeveless. Now, you can wear a sleeve, and that's fine, but to wear anything sleeveless is very immodest to them. And I know they did not want the women to come into the church building. Some of these churches, they'd have to take scarves and try to wrap around their bodies, and it was just really, really difficult, you know, some of these cases. And of course, shorts, no. Yes.
You spoke of the family that didn't want you to come back.
Uh-huh.
The children wanted you to come back,
Yes.
and the parents
Yes.
didn't. Were you, how were you conducting yourselves with the children?
Well,
What were you doing that they wanted to?
Teaching the Bible.
teaching a Bible course.
The parents didn't want you to?
No.
I don't think the parents knew it at the time, is that right?
Well, you can understand that, because if they were in America trying to teach our children, proselyte our children at that young age, we wouldn't like it, would we?
Well, a lot of the young people, I think, in this part of the world wanted to learn about the Bible. And of course, some of the parents, some of them that were very strict did not want it, but I guess some of the young people asked to study when maybe we didn't know that their parents didn't want them to, which was this case.
How young are we talking? We're talking
Oh, I'm talking about
teenagers or-
high school age.
Okay.
I think junior high or high school age, right.
With the veils.
About the veils. All right, this is diminished somewhat in the last few years. This is according to the culture of the area in which you are in. Israel, I think, is having less and less of this. Syria, they still, I think, have the women wear the black veil, and usually the Muslims wear a lot of black, long black dresses and coats. And they wear their head covered. The married women are to cover their face with a veil and hair, because they are not to tempt any other man for the beauty of their face or their hair. And so you have the Ayatollah in Iraq, and I guess Iran, and Syria. What else? What other area that would be very strict?
Well, most
Saudi
of the village,
Arabia.
the people in the village are more traditional there.
Yeah, Right, more of the village. Of course, none of your city people do. So here's where you still need your three different classes of people here. Your city people never do. They're the ones, though I say never, I guess that's right, very, very few of them anyway. Unless they would be your wealthy Muslim people, now they still would. But this is mainly Muslim, and you still will see it on the streets, even in this city. Some, but not as much as you would in these other areas.
Is there an age where they start wearing the veil?
After they're married. So they are not to. They have to go out with the veil. And here again, this is hard to answer because you'll have some Muslim families that do not stress this. I think they're maybe more of the liberal. I mean, I've known some that now they'll wear the black coat, but not cover their face. And then you have others that are very, very strict in it. And so it's, it's not just everybody. But you do have a lot of strictness, and they are trying to bring this back. Egypt also stresses a lot of this and you'll see the young women with these scarves tied right here and folded over, and usually a certain way that they have tied it, and they are usually the Muslim young women. Now their face shows, but their hair is covered.
Color, anything, is there any certain colors they do or do not wear?
For the women, the girls, they usually wear the white or light colored. The older women will wear very long scarves on their hair. The village women will wear very long scarves. I don't think there's any special color for the women. Now the men sometimes, they always wear white on Friday, the Muslim men. And during the week, they might wear these black and white keffiyehs that you buy. But on Friday, their day of the mosque, they'll put a solid white on.
Never a red dress.
Yeah, well, this has changed.
Well, that's true.
Which
Changes.
has really
All of it's
surprised me
changed.
this time. Every time I come back, I think, I cannot believe I'm seeing this, Cultures just change. They do everywhere. And our influence is tremendous here. They're watching more TV from America, so you know how everybody's gonna look like an American pretty soon. Which I think is sort of sad that we're going to lose a lot of the culture. The village women soon will not be wearing their native clothes, I don't think. At least the children of these people, I think. They'll go to the West and the Western ways in their dress. So that's sad. I was gonna answer something else, I forgot what it was.
While you're thinking about that, yesterday, when we were whatever it was, a year ago when we were in the Temple area, there was a group coming in, and they were loud, and the person at the door clapped his hands and shouted "holy" to quiet them down. Does that have, Everett was saying something about going into churches and just the respect and reverence. Say something about that.
Okay, this is very important, and I know it's hard for us to realize sometimes that when we are in their places of worship, that we do need to realize how holy it is to them. And I think, as bad as I hate to say this, that of course maybe it's the Catholic influence as far as the Christian type groups, that they are more quiet in their places of worship than we are in ours. I said I hate to say that, but that's the way it is sometimes. And I think that when we come in, they are really going to notice how we act, and that we should think about this. And the mosques are just as important, of course, as the other, because I think that we should feel very special that they will even let us in as far as the Muslim with the Christian. And I think it's very important that we do act respectful to them, and this would involve their dress and all of their type of people. That I don't know if you had something special.
No, that's exactly. I was thinking about the folks Sunday at church who come from a different background than ours to our service. Our services are casual compared to
Right.
even a group of tourists coming into a holy site. What would how would they view us in terms of our being serious?
Irreverent.
What was it, irreverent? So
Yeah, I think so.
would that be a hindrance in causing them to even study our theology?
I think so. I have noticed this, when we've had churches that have been started, say, by the Americans, that I think that we have passed this on as a part of our culture. Not only do they sing our songs, Western tunes, they also mimic our actions in other ways. And this is something that we need to work on. That's for sure, I think, more places.
One thing that, I asked yesterday about taking photographs. I think I asked Anton
Oh,
and going certain places. Of course, we knew that in the mosque that we could not, but how do they feel about us photographing them? I know that most of them, that I've met on the streets and stuff seem to think that's fine, but I mean, just as far as general demeanor, how do they feel about us?
Well, I don't
Taking
know,
their pictures and stuff.
I think when we lived over here, it was much more tense than now. It seems like this has loosened up somewhat. But I will mention this, we had a great deal of problem when we lived here with tourists and members of the church. We would tell them and tell them and tell them and ask them, please don't take a Bedouin woman's picture. Because they feel very strongly about this, the Bedouin men. And the reason for this is, the word in Arabic for picture or photo is image. And so which makes sense, when, if I took, Edna's picture and Ron was a Bedouin, you'd make a good Bedouin, Ron.
Thank you.
But we have actually seen them run after the camera with tourists because they said, you have the image of my wife. See, you're actually taking my wife. And so it's something, even though we've asked them not to, now I think a few of them have maybe given them a little money or tried to tip them or something, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And I guess if you want to ask, I don't know, but anymore, now I noticed that lady out getting water from the well, that her husband, I don't know whether they noticed that we were taking pictures in the bus, but I just cringed. I thought, he's gonna come running to us in a minute and say, don't take my wife's picture. But I sat there and he didn't do anything, so maybe he didn't realize that we were taking. But usually, and we've also seen them when Everett and I have been out by ourselves, and we go way out, in the desert. We'll come upon a shepherd lady, and she'll quickly grab her veil and put it over her face when she sees there's a man there, you see.
If she's a married woman,
Yes.
single one.
Oh, no, the girls are out with their mothers, but it doesn't, no, that doesn't.
But
The shepherd girl.
even last year when we were in the Western Wall, there was a teacher with a group of, looked like kindergarten kids on a field trip coming up from the Western Wall. And I wanted to take a picture of the children, and the women, and these are Jewish women, turned their back to the camera. They didn't even want their pictures taken.
Well, you'll notice if you look at any of the Arab artwork, that if they draw a Palestinian woman or a lady, they'll draw her a beautiful embroidery dress, but her face is blank.
Yeah.
They'll leave their faces blank. And so they don't believe in images though, even in their worship, in their mosque. So you see, that's just really pictures.
How do they feel about us visiting their holy places as tourists? Like we went in churches into the Wailing Wall. How do they feel about that?
Well, that can be mixed. One time we had a tour group, and there was, I think we've had a few that they would become angry at. Maybe if the women get over the wall too much, they stand up over the wall on the ladies' side, and they look too much over on the men's side, and rabbis can get pretty angry. They say, please get back or don't take pictures. I think we have to play it very careful. Like if we see that something might upset him, we'll just say, I'm sorry, and just back off, or we could have a bad attitude and go ahead and take it anyway and upset him. I mean, it's, a lot of it is according to how, how we should feel about it. I mean, not to offend. I think that's what we need to do. And even when we try hard, we still offend sometimes without even thinking. We just do things without thinking. But the way, there's just so many things tied up. Now, the northern part where Antone's from, he's very, very different in his, area because the northern people are more, westernized or Europeanized, I guess I should say. And, they're much different than this area. And I think you could probably say the farther south you go, the closer you get to Bedouins, which are very, very strict. And they're very unusual people. We never did get to study them like I like. They're very independent people. They like their way of life, and they are the most traditional. This is where a lot of these customs have started from that go all the way back, I think, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I think Abraham and Isaac lived the same way in tents and had their sheep, and I mean everything. The hospitality would be the same. You could go out in one of these tents and you would be a guest for 3 days, and they don't ask you why you're there until the third day. They take care of you the third day. After that, you better leave. But they are extremely hospitable. They haven't changed any. They walk you out the way just like Abraham did. They sit in the gate of their tent. I mean, it's all right there. It hasn't changed any. But they are very, they don't like city people at all, and they don't like Americans, I don't think, at all, because we watch TV and we have radios, and they think that's of the devil. But I've noticed they've got TV sets now. So you see,
Where do they get their power from? That was something I noticed, all these little tents and having an antenna in the middle of the desert.
A good Bedouin will sit there with an exercise bicycle hooked up to a generator.
It'd have to be the woman, it couldn't be the man.
Absolutely.
now, a lot of them are wealthy.
Woman power.
Because they have no rent to pay, they have no electricity bills normally to pay for, and so they have a lot of sheep, and of course Antone said today that they had to pay tax. But a lot of them do have a lot of money.
How do they make their money?
And so they have they have everything, but they're very happy with their way of life, and they don't wanna be changed. They say, leave us alone, we like our sheep, and we like our goats, and we like our way of life, and so this is the way they are. So they're very hard to break into, to really get close to. They said, just leave us alone, yeah.
The facial veil on the Bedouin woman, the burr, call it Tony, a burr.
Bull, I think it's Bor Cop, the one that has the coins on it, her
yes.
dowry cover.
Yes. That can be sort of, that's the
Dowry.
dowry that usually the husband gives them. It's either silver or gold coins. And it's according to the different tribes. Some of them will come here, and some of the Bedouins will be covered completely except just their eyes. You can only see their eyes. And this, they wear their bank account, actually. They have a lot of gold coins and silver coins. They wear these every day, take care of the sheep in them. They'll have a lot of gold, on their dresses. They wear gold bracelets. I've seen it clear up to their elbow. Real gold bracelets, not J.C. Penney. But they actually never worry about stealing, never lose anything. If anybody steals, he gets his right hand cut off, so we don't have much of that. And so we never lost anything when we lived over here, never. And this was a great freedom. We never heard of a sex crime all the time we lived in this city. Great, yeah.
I've noticed the litter and garbage on.
Yes.
Do they not have any fix it up or?
This would be according to your, I think, different types of groups. Your Christian group sometimes are a little different than your Muslim groups. I noticed we were talking about Bethany looks really bad now. It's just really a lot of trash and garbage, and that's embarrassing to some of them. I'm sure Antoine was embarrassed about. Now that's all Muslim groups.
Graffiti too on the walls.
Oh yeah. They've always written a lot on the walls.
I guess that's political stuff.
Yeah, that's probably true. But they have a saying here that's very different from us, and they have a habit that if they clean up their own yard, of course everything's wall, they have a lot of walls here. but we have an expression, just throw it over the wall. And, you know, if you don't want it, just throw it over the wall. Of course, they don't care about the next, what's over the wall, they don't see that. So their little yard might be clean, but what's over the wall will be very bad, very bad. And so that may be answer a lot of your question here. It's just a part of their culture, I think.
I would like to ask Everett a question about
Okay.
Antone's background.
You mean the Maronite religion?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Maronite religion is a Lebanese religion. It's about the same as the Catholics, but they're not under the Pope. Their priests can marry. After they're ordained, they're not to marry, but they can ordain married priests. They're a very strong political group in Lebanon. In fact, the Muslims could not take them. They were in the mountains, and in all the fighting that took place, they were able to hold the mountains, and were in the majority up until the refugees went to Lebanon, and that sort of upset the apple cart and caused the civil war, really, in Lebanon. But he's not, I mean, traditionally, he's Maronite, but he'll criticize him. Very critical of the Pope.
How did he?
It's a form of Catholicism.
I mean, he was a teacher at one time?
Yes.
Did you go to college?
Hard copy.
He said,
He taught several courses.
He's very intelligent.
One of his sons married a Jewish girl, and one married a French, was it a French girl?
Sweden, I can't remember.
Sweden, I believe.
Sweden, I believe. He was just telling us about this new daughter-in-law he has. Now, this is a problem that here, that
The Jews the people in the north are more liberal than they are here in the south, I think, about an Arab marrying a Jew. And his son married this Jewish girl, and her folks just wouldn't have anything to do with it. I mean, they were very upset about it. And he said they're just now trying to work through it. Friday night, they had their first meeting with her parents. And so anyway, it's working out, very, very well. I think it's gonna work out fine, but it does make a little tense sometimes. But he said they're fine people, and they're really nice, but it just takes a little time to work out, these things here. So, there's a lot of foreigners here from Holland, from Sweden and different areas like that, intermarry too. So, there's a lot of that goes on.
One of the, excuse me.
Go ahead.
One of the things last year when I was speaking with Antone about his family, I asked him why he was in Nazareth, lived there, and he said he was a refugee. And I asked him about that. He said he was Phoenician, and his people were Phoenician. I said, well, Phoenicia hasn't existed in years. He said, oh, that's true. He said he was not Lebanese, and he made that very clear. And I asked him when it was that his fathers had been mistreated where they had to leave. And he said, in the 1200s. So his family has considered themselves as refugees since the 1200s. Now, that amuses me, but it also gives you a sense of time and perception that I think as Americans we don't. Anything goes back to the 1600s is the beginning of really ancient history for us. But you go back hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's a sameness, and there's a tradition, and there's a family, and there's something of respect. I don't even know who my people were in 1200s, if I had people then,
This is a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is something that I don't think the American mind, at least I'll speak for myself, and as long as we've lived with these people, that we can understand the meaning to them of their homeland, or even land, even dirt, this soil. If their father or great-grandfather or whoever their family lived here or was born here, this is their home. And this is the clash that we've got here with the Arabs and the Jews want it and the Arabs want it. It's their land and it's my land, and you know, this is the big problem because the land itself is so important to them. I know we would ask people where their home was, and they said Jaffa or Jaffa, you know. Well, they hadn't been there in 30 years. You know, we move and we can set up home here, there, and anywhere. But to them, it's not that way. They would say, where are you from? We say, America. No, they say, where are you really from? They want to know what your roots are. Are you Italian? Are you German? Or who's your great-great-great-great-grandfather? Which I don't know. I mean, you know. But it's very important to them, and I think this will help you understand genealogy of the Bible. Very, very important to them. Somebody had a hand, yeah.
They, you know, are one lineage, they can trace it back. But I think the difference between us, if, for example, is if I got it all right, I'm Scotch, Irish, English, French, German, and Dutch.
We must be related.
Yeah. So.
And Cocker Spaniel.
There's no Spanish in there. But when somebody's, you know, you ask me, like, what would I say? You know, I'm a plain old American. I'm native born American. You know?
Well,
this
And that
is,
means something else to some people over there.
America's such a young country.
yeah, that's hard for them to realize too.
this is,
But I don't have any ties to any one particular group. I can't stand any.
this is the part of the refugee problem because the land in which their foreparents lived and were buried is sacred to them, and there's a closeness between the land and the people that we don't have. And so you misplace them, they're never happy. You can offer them another piece of property, which the refugees have been offered, but that doesn't solve the problem.
It's not, this
It's the
is,
same thing that's going on with the
in fact,
shuffling of
some of
communities
you
and
may
diversity.
have seen that on CNN this morning. I just got it, I was almost late getting ready because I couldn't pull myself away from it. But in northern Israel, I think there's a village called, I'm not familiar with it, Erkbit or something like that. And I think the Israelis, they have taken it away from them, say 30 years ago or whatever, and they promised to give half of it back. They said, we will give half of it back. And what they will do is let them come back to this village and have half of it and to live in it, and they can have everything but the land. But you see, this is not gonna do it. This young man got on TV this morning, he's probably 30, 35, and he said, this is my grandfather's land, and this is my father's land, and wherever I have to live, they have been out of it for these many years. This is still my land. I want to teach my sons that this is their land and their sons. So you see, this is going on, and he said, well, wherever we are, this is still our land. So I thought that was a prime example of how they feel about it.
You know, in Old Testament times, you had the same thing. The tribes inherited a section of land and it never passed to any other tribe.
Your Jubilee went back.
Yeah, you couldn't sell it.
That's right, it's true.
John's been patient in terms of trying to
Oh,
get
I'm sorry.
questions.
That's okay. I wanna go back to the Antone's religion. What exactly do they believe?
Same as Catholic,
Same as
same, no difference.
Except the Pope, I think he said
Yeah.
that they.
See, what a lot of times we don't understand is there's a whole series of different variations of the Catholic
Right.
religion.
Yeah.
It's Lebanese Catholic.
We get different versions of church institution.
Unfortunately.
Hey, I asked Antone today how that had changed. When we were in Jordan, King Hussein was going to try to make all the little Bedouin children go to school. But I asked Antone today about these ones out, and he said that the boys can go, but the girls don't.
Tough to
So
send
you
to school
still
goes
have
out in the
this
desert.
division between male and female, but he said all the little boys, and I think he said they don't force the little boys to go, but they try to encourage the parents to send the little boys, and the girls are home being taught how to do mama's work, I guess. So that, for that class of people, the village and city children nearly all go to school.
They have arranged marriages, or do they just?
According to your class, your Bedouin and your village pretty much do still, as far as I know. Your city people are trying really hard to break. They're trying to be just like us. They think it's great to pick your own mate, you know. Even though we have the highest divorce rate, you know, we don't have
Yeah,
lots.
we don't
And they
know
say,
what they do.
why do you have so many divorces, you know, when you
That's
have
a good
freedom?
question.
It
That's
is.
an important question.
That's right.
It's fundamental.
It's hard to answer.
Who is
My
it that,
question is about these men who are so jealous of their wives. They don't want anybody to look at them. Wives not to have pictures taken of them. Are the men true? What about their eyes?
Well, Everett, you want to answer that?
I'm talking about
Yes,
the people over here.
They're very loyal to their wives.
They are?
Yes, I think
Yes.
so. As far as
Unless,
I know.
like in Saudi Arabia, you'll have some of the wealthy that would go to Beirut and live it up high, drinking and everything. But a good Muslim, no. And the same with the different Christian sects.
So
They're faithful.
there's a lesson that we need to learn, folks, and take back home, because we're losing everything in America. There are too many congregations that have members in it, but maybe not the same congregation. There'll be swapping of wives, and it's tolerated, and that is no good. Now, you see, you talked about the wearing the veil. When they unmarried, the women can go and others can see and pick a companion. When they're married, the veil goes on. Now, we don't have the literal veil, but that attitude ought to be there. When a woman is married, you leave her alone. Just like the other day, I'm single now. My wife passed away 9 months ago. And the most beautiful woman, I mean just in every way. Richard's sister, she was. She is gone now. And it's taken me 8 months before I felt like I wanted to live again. But now I do. But the other day I saw the prettiest woman, a Chinese woman. And I started talking to her, and she was so nice and friendly. And the next morning I saw her again. I talked to her again. And then finally I said, "Are you married?" She said, "Yes." Well, that was the end of it. So we need to remember that marriage is for life. And take all the time you need to settle on a mate, and then it never enters your mind unless there's scriptural reason for it. And then when you're married again, I think there's even more reason. Let me read to you here. I need to borrow a set of glasses.
How long you mind?
Here is an ad that appeared in the Gospel Advocate on November the 6th, 1919. I was a month and 2 days old when this ad came out. And he said in the ad, I'm in the wrong place there. It was in the Gospel Advocate. He says, wanted, a wife, if a good home, well furnished, by a widower who has no children, who is a doctor and a druggist, and a loyal gospel preacher, if such appeals to a Christian lady from 25 to 45, trying to figure out how old he was when he put his head in, who does not dip snuff, does not belong to any lodge, does not go to shows or theaters, that's what we all were back then, who has never been married and has no children. He wanted a virtuous virgin, and who does not ride a horse astride. And he gives his box number, and the editor of the paper puts a P.S. There's one thing the brother did not mention, snoring. So I think the second time you need to be more careful than you do even the first time. And if we'd all do that, we would find the future to be brighter for all of us.
what last words of wisdom do you have,
That's,
Elsie?
well, I think I can follow up on what he said, that, as
Pays to advertise?
No. That as Americans, I think that we are really being watched for our lives, and the Arabs love you to be friendly. I think they're very friendly people, and they appreciate that. But we have to win them first by our love and our friendliness. And then we can talk to them about something more serious. That's just the way that they are. And so I think if we just keep in mind that they're watching us and how we act and how we behave, that we can leave a very good example, because they get a lot of bad influence over here from America, from our TV and our movies, and so it's very embarrassing sometimes. You know, they ask you, why do you do this, and why do you have this, but one thing that Everett and I both have appreciated, I think, about them through the years is they have accepted us for what we are, not for what the government we have. I mean, you know, if the government does things that we don't appreciate, I think that they will accept you for what you are or who you are. And I think this is very important. Thank you for wanting to ask questions. Okay.
If you, on this reception tomorrow evening, do we need to dress differently? I mean, wear darks or?
No, you'll be at the end of your tour.
Oh, out on the street?
Yeah. You'll be after walking.
And he understands that because this is his
wore
business.
pants when I was here. I
Well, that's why I
never
wondered.
wore pants when I was here, but under the conditions that we're under, we don't have a lot of choice, I think, at this time.
Does this mean that since I have to be real careful what I do since I'm sharing a room with Anton?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, he's your, I think you'll find him very, very.
Well, I'm
easy
sure
to
it is, but
deal with.
I gotta be careful what I do.
Well,
Yeah, just don't
yes.
snore.
You're an example.
That's right.
I think we had another question.
Working in the hotel here, are they, service people, are they Palestinians, are they, what?
Arabs.
They're Arab, most of them would be Palestinians, I
Yeah.
would
So they
guess.
are people that we, are seeing every day.
Yes, yes.
We deal with the
Good
Arabs.
question.
We only tour with the Jews.
Say that again?
We deal with Arabs.
I've got the key. and he
We only tour with the Jews.
Does he snore?
I have no idea.
No.
That was a good.
Oh.
Now I'm doing that.
Tell her.
I haven't been sharing.
Say it again.
Well, Arab.
This is the morning group getting ready to tour. All the pickpockets around, trying to sell you something. You can see the beauty.
Let us come to these holy camels first, and then we walk. Very holy camels. ولك ice wheel
Let me get on this side, get the sun in my back.
I gave them last week, American money. They gave me the change, Canadian money. I told them, when I came in age with their grandfather, I said, no, this is the money you give me. $100, how much I do $100? 50? No, 50 Canadian.
I just paid you. I paid you.
Luke is the bull, John is the eagle, and Matthew is the man. You know this, right? Yeah.
There's one of our group.
Yeah, it is.
This is our studio. I didn't. This is our studio. This is our studio.
You know what they remind me of?
That was unusual.
Because their faces look like much bigger lips.
This is probably the last time for a morning view because we were supposed to leave early in the morning. There's a scan of the city of Jerusalem, Mount of Olives.
Like that.
He's gonna spit here in a minute.
The mountains of Jerusalem, Mount the Prophet Samuel mountain. You see the big building up at the top of the mountain. Take the antenna and cut straight. That's Mount Nabi Samuel. The Crusaders used to call it Mount Joyer. Today you are going to hear a lecture about this area from Gabriel. He lives in this very biblical area, and they call it Mount Joy. The Crusaders called the other mountain in the distance Mont Joyer, you know, to be pleasant. Be pleasant. Maybe his tomb is there. Maybe. Palm Sunday Road. Sure, it is not. Because it's going between tombs. Jesus did not walk in between tombs. The Palm Sunday must be behind this building. See the big building with the Benedictians behind it, really. Like the roof, the red roof. And why we walk here? Because the only one now available to the people to walk is here. The other side is very difficult. Walk between houses like this. And you see, to the left, look, it is here the tomb of the prophets Haggai and Malachi. This is really if you go inside, there's a cave, a huge cave. You have tombs on the floor and tombs on the wall. The tombs on the floor, and it is very strange way of burying people. Tombs on the floor of the cave and tombs on the wall of the cave. Why in the wall? Why in the floor? If the teachers are on the wall, if the students are in, it's really also. If it is an area of the prophets, remember there are a group of prophets in the area of Jerusalem in those days. There were schools of prophets. There were two kinds of prophets. Do you like to remember this? A prophet who takes his charisma from a prophet before him, anoint him, or appointed by a prophet. Take for instance Elisha and Elijah, and the prophets that we call them the schools of prophets. He put himself in a mood of a trance. I don't know if you have these charismatics in your country and these Pentecostals in your country. We have them here, thank God. You see, they will take, let us say, like 1 hour, 2 hours, and suddenly, you know, you have to put them like this, you know, and, you know, he is touched by the Spirit. I don't know which Spirit. But we have two kinds. So if we have here, so forgive me. The myrtle seed, you smell it? It's a beautiful smell, really. Myrtle, beautiful smell. We call it in Hebrew Hadass. Remember the name? Hadass. It's a very good name. Why you remember it? Because Hadassah Hospital. Hadassah, it's a medical plant. Medical, you know, we make good powder for the wounds of the children from. It's very good, really. Better than any other powder, better than any other thing for the children who is the first month age, you know. Myrtle. Hadass was the title of Esther. Her uncle Mordecai called her Hadass.
Watch out for cars. Car.
Game.
Whoa.
Car, game off. Hey.
Heads up, here comes the white one.
That's a compact car.
So what made you want to learn to do that? Where do you go skiing? California. No, Oklahoma. Okay.
But there's a club in Tulsa.
We could do a bike. I don't think about it.
This is a cemetery just south of our hotel.
Is this
ولك اوعى حلفاج. Be careful, many donkeys, many pickpockets, many things in this road since the time of Jesus until now. Remember, this is the valley of the dry bones. Valley of the dry bones. This is the
Ezekiel's Valley of Dry Bones.
This is the Jewish cemetery in Mount of Olives. Mount of Olives is very holy for the three religions. For number one, for the Jewish, because of Zechariah. Remember, Zechariah speaks about the coming of the Messiah. Here, your king is coming from the east riding a donkey. Messiah is going to come from the east. So they believed since those days that those people, the righteous, how they call them, they are buried here in the slope of this mountain. So there are two wishes to the Jewish people in their life. One of them to be buried here. And the second wish is to touch the Wailing Wall. Easy to touch the Wailing Wall, not easy to be buried here. The reason, here you have to have lots of money to be buried here. When they bury somebody, the body is deep in the soil, very deep, about 1 yard deep. And above the body, they have to have the monument, one-size monument for all of them. The head is the other side, the legs this side. You see, face is always to the east. To the
Face
Messiah.
is always
Face
to the
Messiah.
east.
The coming of the Messiah. You see, there are lots. Nobody has the right really to open the tomb in the Jewish faith. Nobody has the right to open the tomb. The only one allowed to open is the Messiah. So these people, it's good to take cemetery from the Greek language. Cemetery like waiting place. These are waiting for the coming of the Messiah in hope he's going to come to take them with him to the Temple Mountain. Look, on the tombs you have lots of little rocks. You see the little rocks? There are 3 reasons for this. 2 very easy. One of them is simple. Simply you come here, you visit the tomb, you put the rock as a sign of memorial. I come, I visited you. The second reason is really theological reason from Judaism, It's a wish. Like anyone, Jewish man or woman died, and in his wish to see the Messiah. So if you die and you did not see a Messiah, it's like you die with a wish on your heart. It's like a rock on your heart. The stone is a rock on your heart. You died and you did not see the Messiah. And number 3, it is really, we have it in our faith, we have it in our religion. You remember, he broke the bread. What he said? These are small pieces. They are, the small rocks, they are, if you put them together, they make one big hard rock. We are pieces from big rock. No? Sure, yeah. We are really pieces, small pieces from big rock. The more you go back, the rock getting bigger. The more you go to 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, the rock getting smaller. You understand me, please, no? No? Yeah. We are pieces. All of us are pieces from God. All of us pieces from God. The more you go back towards God, reverse in the history, you go to big rock. The more you come up in the history, we are getting smaller. This is the meaning, really. This is the meaning of Jesus, what he did. He broke the bread to small pieces. What he said to the disciples, remember me. Remember, or wish, or other things. The third thing, you see, this chapel is where Jesus cried, traditional place, cried for Jerusalem. The other side cemetery, that's the Muslim cemetery. We explained why the Muslim cemetery is there. Yeah, you still remember? Say it again. Yeah, so he will not walk in between tombs. The Messiah, when he comes, he will not walk in between tombs, because if the Messiah goes, he will go from the golden gate, you see the closed gate, to where he will go to the golden dome and the black dome. Those are mosques. In the 13th century, the Muslims said, why to let him go? Close it. They close it, the gate, and then they said this gate will be open by itself. If he stands in the front of the gate will be open. So they put the tombs, they said he will not walk in between tombs. If he goes there, he will turn to the left or to the right, and the Temple Mountain mosques above, they are continue to be as they are. They are afraid really from the coming of the Messiah. Muslims believe in his second coming. I wish you sit with those really that they know the religion. I wish you sit, you do it. They believe in his second coming, and the same as we believe. They believe that he is going to judge the people. We believe in his coming as a judge, no? Sure, the first coming he came as a lamb, as a redeemer. The second coming he will be what? A judge, a lion. He will be a lion, a judge. Sure, this is how they believe. They took it. When they come to visit, sometimes they light a candle, or some of them they put here a book like the Psalm, the book of Psalm. So they come to pray. Indeed, if you see some people, they come to visit their dead people are Jewish. They keep to come, especially if you walk here. Some people, they love sometimes to make a big walk. And the motto is, you see the tombs of the teachers, really they are more than usual have visitors. Teachers, rabbis, they go. Students go to visit the tomb of their teachers. Many in this area. If you walk all the way to the Kidron, you see tombs from 1000 BC. If you walk up, you see tombs from 300 BC. So you have tombs from 300 BC all the way until down. I know if you go to ask questions, you'll ask many questions, especially if Jewish people cannot bury two persons in one tomb. Many questions really. People love, for instance, they ask you, it's not enough, if here from 1000 BC until now you have tombs, you must have a very, very big cemetery. Yeah, sure, really, how we answer that? We have to answer that, we have to go to study how many years Jewish people continued to live in this country. This is the answer to this. So we know that from 1000 BC, from the time of David, come up until 586 BC, the first exile. What happened after the first exile? No Jewish. The Greeks. Then they come to the Romans. You come to the Hadrian. A Byzantine, they did not allow them even to bury their people in Jerusalem. Byzantine time. After then, the Muslims, they gave them a good chance. Really. The Muslims gave the Jewish very good chance in Jerusalem. After the Muslims, the Crusaders, what the Crusaders did with them, they collected them in the synagogues, and all of them, they were killed in the synagogues. After that, so you have the Mamelukes. Mamelukes, they were very tough with everybody, not only with the Jewish. After the Mamelukes, the Turks. The Turks, if you pay them the bribe, you can take the bride. This is how we say. They had a little time. Then after them, it means if you go to collect all the time, the Jewish continued to live here, it's a little time. That's why we don't have many tombs in here. But you start with the Jewish from David. How many years from David until now? 3,000 years. This is why they celebrate what now? The 3,000 years for Jerusalem. Now, before David, we have another 900 years from Abraham, the Canaanites. Usually, really, I believe really people must study mathematics and history together. Otherwise, will not be having justice. Questions before really. Look here now. In the center of the city we are going to walk today, that's a big black dome, that's the Holy Sepulchre. Black one, you see it? Straight. Look to the left of the new Jewish quarter. A little tiny silver dome in the center to the left, you see it? That's the Armenian quarter. Armenian. The Christian quarter near the Holy Sepulchre, and most of the city is Muslim area. Outside, we're going straight, you see that's outside the walls, the top of the mountain. That's Mount Zion. You see there's a tiny little minaret outside the walls. The little one, that's David's tomb and the upper room. We'll go there. See, there are really three valleys in Jerusalem. See the Kidron here. Cheesemakers in the middle. So if you follow this yellow car, this is going slowly there, you see meeting the bus. There's a little car alone down in front of all of them. If you turn down to the left, you go to the cheesemakers. You see a bus is coming from the cheesemakers, see? This is the second valley, and the third valley is the Hinnom, the other side. See, if you put the three valleys together, they are like this, really, exactly. See them? Ish. This is ish. Sh. In Hebrew, this is sh. Sh. Shaddai. El Shaddai. El Shaddai. The strong arm of God. See, indeed, Jerusalem is like ish. Exactly. I put my name on my city. I leave my name on my city. Like this. If you go up, you see it like this. You see, take the Golden Dome, the heart of the city, and go all the way up, straight like 15 fingers. You see the garden, there's a cypress trees and green garden, you see it? That's really the head of the city. That's the head of the city, the skull. See, that's the skull. And the Golgotha, that's where the crucifixion took place. See, one of the two sides. It's very suitable indeed. In the middle between the neck, I don't know if you can see the Muslim houses, they look like this really. See? And then you come to the breast of the city, to the heart, which is where the Golden Dome, and you go down to go to the legs, to the garbage area. This is Jerusalem, indeed, if you take it like this. Right arm and right leg, the cheesemakers. Left and left, the Kidron. And this is Jerusalem, the two mountains. Exactly, you don't have more than two mountains in Jerusalem. Moriah, where the Golden Dome, this is the breast of the city, the heart, the Abraham. What is Abraham? The love, the trust in God. This is Abraham, really. All Abraham is, he trusts God. That's it. And you go down to the left, the legs that meet together to the pool of Siloam, the garbage of the city, the garbage. You go up, you go to the head. What is the head? The head is Golgotha. Golgotha is the plan of God to redeem the humankind. Where is the plan? The brain. Where the love? The heart. Where the garbage is down. This is really the city. This is Jerusalem. Indeed, this is the theological idea of the building of Jerusalem. Skull, head, heart, and garbage. That's it. This is Jerusalem. The black dome, this is the, down to the left. Down to the, that's St. Peter in Gallican 2, where we believe Peter denied Jesus. Yeah.
Divided sepulchres is.
Yeah, indeed the Jewish people, they paint their tombs, once a year. And the tomb, they look nice always from outside. He says once to the Hippocratics and those liars, you remember, he said, don't be nice and beautiful from outside or inside. He meant these tombs he used to see in his eyes.
And John, I think some would like to know something about Hezekiah's tunnel.
You know, if we have a good place to sit, the spring of the water is in the Kidron. You cannot see it from here. The city, Jerusalem, in the time of Hezekiah was between the cheesemakers and the Kidron only. Small little town. You see the model today. And Hezekiah made the tunnel under the city of David. And he put the water in the pool. We call it the pool of Siloam. In those days, that's the pool of Hezekiah. So his water was inside the city. Walls and water and God and man, And when Sennacherib really made the siege around the city, he was not able to take one stone because of the water, because of God, because of the walls, because of his soldiers. They were very really afraid, first of all. Later on, no need for that. You remember, maybe we will see it, maybe we will stop in some place so you can see it better than here. There's Hezekiah, where Hezekiah is the Gihon, we call it, Gihon, only one really spring of water. And look what is special in Jerusalem. Again, from here you see. Jerusalem, I hope you will never forget it. Don't go far. The Kidron and the cheese, that's Jerusalem. That's Mount Zion, and this is Mount Moriah. This is Holy Mountain, and that's Zion, two mountains. You see, like the dew comes from Hermon, from here, to Zion, like this, like the ointment comes from the head of Aaron to his beard. Many people, they go far to the mountain in the snow. Please don't go to the mountain in the snow. It's wrong. Where you see, remember Hermon? Near, that's very wrong idea. Hermon means holy. Holy mountain, this mountain. The dew comes from here, from Holy Mountain, to Zion, that mountain, down to the left. Zion is the city of David. Like the ointment comes from the head of Aaron to his beard. How nice and beautiful for brothers and sisters to get together in harmony and peace. Number two, remember about David's Psalms. Look, this mountain is higher than Jerusalem. See Jerusalem? Mount Zion of the Great, where you see the big black dome, is higher than Jerusalem. The south is higher than Jerusalem. Like the mountains around Jerusalem, I will be like the walls around my nation. See, like this higher, that's it. Where is the only one problem to Jerusalem? The north. You see, look. You come from the north, from Nabi Samuel area, and you invade Jerusalem. All of them, they came from the north. So what you do, you have to close the north. You must close the north. Here I close the north by the Temple Mountain, the walls of Temple Mountain. And from the other side, I close the wall by the walls I make. That is really always like this. Don't turn these questions to any political view. Sometimes difficult. No, for instance, the owner of this mountain is Muslim owner. Why not Jewish? Because the Jewish were not in the house. Easy. If you are not in your home, somebody else will take your home. Go discuss the Turkish law now. Turkish law is very clear. You know, I'll give you a good example of Turkish law. I will say, for instance, this place is mine if I stand here. If Tony comes and takes it from me, it is mine, but I cannot give it back. Nobody can give it back to me because he is there. This is Turkish law. The second question was, the tombs, you remember really once, they did not respect the tombs here. I don't want to say that King Hussein Hotel, where you stay in the Jewish cemetery. I don't want to say that. Now, maybe I will go to visit Jordan.
Me standing next to one of the walls.
There's glass in the top of this concrete wall.
Christian cemetery. We have drug problems in this country. You know, the druggers, they go to the bones of the dead, they take them and they grind them and they make it for the drugs problems. I'm sure you have like these. I heard from many Americans.
Yes.
But you know, the thieves, we had thieves 10 years ago. They went to the tombs inside. They took the bones, they grind the bones. You know, the drug stories. They took the case later on, the police, against the owner of this cemetery, the Franciscans, because those thieves, they wounded themselves in the glass in here. You see the democratic country? Into this 1880. From a distance, when we drive from a distance, we see the church with the onions dome. See the dome look like Mary Magdalene, 1899. That was the work of Nikolai, the Kaiser of Russia, before communism. Before communism. He made this church inside, and he named it after the part of his mother, Mary Magdalene. Part of his mother, Mary Magdalene. Something really special here, you see the rocks. Indeed, this is like Herodion, imitation to the Herodion, you see? Imitation to the Herodion. These are the last one was buried here in this church, was 4 years ago, Christmas night. They brought the bones of the mother of Philip. Philip is the husband to Queen Elizabeth. His mother died as a nun in Athens. And her will was, take my bones to this church. They brought it secretly 4 years ago, Christmas night. Nobody knows until 1 hour later. Everybody knew the secret.
20 bookmark for $1, 30 cards for $1, 20 bookmark for $1, 30 cards for $1.
Going into the Garden of Gethsemane. And there's another cat. You don't see too many dogs in this town, but you do see several cats. The garden where Jesus prayed.
Please, if you come down. This is why we call Mount of Olives, because of the olive trees. We had them on the slope of the mountain. We had lots of olive trees on the slope of this mountain. Where are those olive trees? We had them in the mountain, were cut by the enemies of the Holy Land. Remember, you plant the tree, you wait 6 years for the first crops. Wow. And then your enemy comes and he cuts your olive tree. We have a saying in our country, cut my neck and don't cut my olive tree. You know, from the olives, you know what we make. You forget the light. Don't forget the light. Light is important. Light, medicine, food, soap, you know, cosmetics, we make it from the olive trees. So it is very expensive tree. The income is coming from here. These trees are the remains of the olive trees. We have them in the Mountain of Olives. The Mountain of Olives. Many people, we give them also this question just to let them fall in this answer, you know. Yeah, maybe in the bus they are. You see, he's parked there. You see, how many, for instance, look here, how many trees you see here? People, they start to count 4 trees, you know, because we have 4 trunks. No way, really. This is 1 tree. Look, the other tree over there, they count 7 trees. That's 1 tree. The tree getting older, it's cracked. Cracked. Never die. Always give. This olive tree really, it loves to give always. I never see, since 78 until now really, I never see these trees without fruits. This year they had more than usual fruits. A nice and lovely Roman kind of, you see, you still have black ones, you see them there? Some black, you see? Can you see black?
Yeah.
They start green, they turn black. With the time coming, they're getting better because the skin getting thinner. When more rain, the skin getting thinner. The skin getting thinner, you have more oil. How we pick them, you know, we start to pick them in October. Green to pickle them. Did you try the one, the green one? You have them in California also. Then after they turn to be black, you know, we take a stick and we hit the tree, we put a blanket under and we hit the tree. And we have to separate the fruit from the leaves. Otherwise you have lots of acid in between. Acid is not good. Acid really gives a little bit like pepper to the as even you put hot pepper chili to the olive oil. Then the third time we pick it, which is in December. December is the best time to make the olive oil. It is nice, it's pure, it depends really how they used to make it. Again, I promised you to speak a little bit later on about this subject because you have the 4 kinds of the olive press in the biblical times. I don't care for the Romans, the biblical times, because it's better to go to the 1000 BC, the way that they used to make the olive oil. But this is really one, maybe these trees are the trees that they are associated with the gospel, that Jesus left the disciples throwing stone distance in some place, and he went to pray. And he went back, they were sleeping. He came here, he saw the 3 disciples, Peter, John, and James, also taking a nap. And saying to them, you don't care to watch with me 1 hour? What kind of friends are you? Then you remember, this, he was very afraid from death. The flesh is weak, and the spirit is willing. This is how he said, please God, your will, not my will. This is why we call this garden the Garden of Gethsemane. Gath means press, and Shemen means olive. The olive press garden. This is the name really of this place. The olive press garden. And yeah, this is where Jesus pressed himself. This is really the symbolical meaning. Jesus pressed himself in here. What he sweat? What did Jesus sweat here? Drops of blood. This is how he pressed himself. I cannot sweat blood. Can you? Nobody can sweat that. This is really the divine nature, dear Royal. This is the divine nature. Jesus sweat the blood. And also here, Jesus is subject to his Father. Your will, not my will. You see, the 2 things. When you are subject to somebody, you are human. But when you are God, you are not subject to anybody. Here in this garden, Jesus shows us the 2 natures. His divine nature and his human nature. But finally, you know, he is really subject to death. He said, please God, my Father, your will, not my will. We believe it happened in here. The church is Barlucci. Antonio Barlucci, he built many churches in this country, and we call it the Church of the Whole Nations. The money indeed was from America, 1920. 1920. The Americans gave us 2 beautiful churches, one the contrast of the other. This one and the one on Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor, the Transfiguration, was American money, and this one also, the Agony. The Agony is the contrast of this, the contrast of the Transfiguration. In the Transfiguration, he shows us his glory. Here, he shows us his weakness, and at the same time, I am subject to my Father. What my Father says, I say. That's it. It's here.
One comment. There is a medical condition under extreme stress called hematidrosis where you can sweat blood.
You can. But today, you know, and
Under
Extremely stressful condition.
That's what I've heard that too.
huh?
Oh, sweat blood, you mean? Oh, yeah, I wonder if
I always thought it was paths across there. What David told me. Very few of
There's the Golden Gate, just right across from the Garden of Gethsemane.
How does this work?
really one tree. Maybe 1,000 years. See, the question, I don't want to say this is 2,000 years old tree. But it will be the tree comes from the mother tree.
This is about 1,000-year-old tree here.
Come here with me. العافية. كيفك يا أبو فارس؟
This is a Mexican crane, dude. There's new.
Oh, look at this.
Crane.
This is Fall Nations.
There's no explanations inside the ship. I said it so they don't know any explanations.
Get over here.
It's happened in the
Yeah.
Maybe, see, the oldest olive tree we have it in our country, it's very much possible this tree. See the trunk is empty inside. And look, the tree renews itself always. The question, look, we have two renewal of this tree. See this shoot? See it? It comes from the roots. Comes from the roots. What I have to do with this shoot? Either I will be very tough, very savage. I cut. Indeed, we call them khanazir. You know what khanzir means? Pigs. I just 4 days before I take you really the same day I had somebody said, Anton, please don't work this hard work. I brought 3 workers on this back. I worked with them that day. One of them said, don't work, it's hard for you. I wanted to work hard work. Go just cut the pigs from the trees. What to cut the pigs like this? Cut them down. I said, why we have to be savage? We have to be good. How you be good? You cut most of this, you leave little piece, and you bring beautiful piece from the top of good tree, and you put it here. You graft the tree in a good tree, no? Romans 11. St. Paul, Romans 11. Don't be savage, be good. The second shoot, look where the second shoot is this shoot here. I remember it really very well. I never forget this shoot because 1978, when I started my job as a full guide, it was the size of my finger. See this one? This is Isaiah 11. You like to read Isaiah 11 tonight? A shoot is coming from where? From Jesse. This is the trunk of Jesse. See? This is Jesse. In Hebrew, we call this shoot, please remember the name, Netzer. Say it. Netzer. Where I am from, what city I am? Nazareth. Nazareth. This is Nazareth. Nazareth, huh? Nazareth. This is Nazareth. Now, the shoot Nazareth comes from Jesse. Your eyes must be here now. It's come from Jesse. Anything come from Jesse is fruitful. Fruitful. Gives beautiful fruit. We make good olive oil from this, we make good olive whatever. Anything come from under the ground, you make it good by Christianity. Look, this is Christianity. This is Judaism. And that's the fruits.
And this is Abraham.
Down below. We have to take it like this, really. This is the best teaching about the olive tree. If you like to take it as Zechariah, how Zechariah saw the 2 olive trees near the altar, one to the left side of the altar, one to the right side of the altar. The one to the left, no fruit, but you make it good by graft the tree. And here we are.
Let's go back 2,000 years ago and put ourselves in the garden as we sing. Night with ebb and pagan, brooded o'er the well. All around was silence.
Very moving experience, which many cried. This is looking across from the Golden Gate. There's the Brook Kidron. And right there is the entrance into the Garden of Gethsemane. Very short distance. As you look down below, you can see another garden. This has been in the same area.
American man.
Nations next to the Garden of
In America, he is from Greece. I mean, he's living life, you know.
Garden.
Sometimes not late, you know.
Do they pay to dig the universities?
I cannot.
Brook Kidron.
Antone.
There's our hotel. Absalom's monument.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a question back here.
Church of Christ really is involved in this. Yeah, the Abilene.
See the track.
Abilene Christian University under Dr. Humble.
But do they pay?
Mount Zion. What? Locust?
Locust tree.
Please be all together, stick together. There are little roads, zigzag roads here, zigzag roads here. The possibility of getting lost easily here. So be all together. All together, our hours are still there. Remember you when you stayed in Tiberias or you stayed in Herzliya, near your doors, you have this thing like that. You see that? It's mezuzah. Remember how we call it? Mezuzah. This. Jewish houses, Jewish gates, Jewish doors, airplanes even. If you go to a Jewish airplane, you will find really mezuzah on the door. And the mezuzah, this one, it is written the name of God, Shema Israel, our God is only one God. You know, Shema means hear, listen and obey. This is Shema. You hear, you listen, you obey. Because if you don't hear, you cannot listen. If you don't listen, you cannot think. If you don't think, you don't obey. This is really three together. Shema Israel, hear Israel, our God is only one God. The moment the Jewish go inside, they touch it and they kiss their fingers. You remember in the Catholic churches and the Greek Orthodox churches, they replaced that by the holy water. The moment, you know, the Catholics and the Greek or the other churches, they go to the people, they go to their church, they put their fingers in the water, they make the sign of the cross. The sign of the cross is the Trinity, the one God. You know, this is why really we took it from them, from Judaism. See, he kissed that. To remind there's one God, maybe this is also a demonstration that we will be
Excuse me.
everybody. Okay, somebody asked me if he needs a shiratim. Shiratim means toilets. Yes. You know, this is not the best toilet in the world.
Turkish man.
This is kippah.
Kippah. Sculpture. How do you spell it?
Kippah. K-E-P-P-A. Kippah. Cap. The problem if they don't have hair, how they glue it, you know.
Velcro.
That's a problem.
What do they do? What do they do?
They glue it. Crazy glue.
How do you keep yours on? You ain't got no hair.
This is what the pen.
Stick a pin in your scalp.
Oh, he's a good man.
As long as it's
Change. So if everybody is here, it's not a long talk. Maybe this is David's tomb behind me. I hope everybody is here. You see, otherwise, you know, we'll wait for their coming. Look, all the building from the bottom until the top we are going to go later to see is a crusade building. All the building from the bottom under your feet all the way up, it's a crusade. 800 years old building. It is built above the remains of the Byzantine area. Byzantine. There was a very huge Byzantine holy place in this area, destroyed by the Persians. And indeed, you know, the first time we read about as even this is a monument. It was written in the book of Acts chapter 2, as even here we sit and the big monument in front of us. So we thought the biggest monument is the monument of David. Now, you know, monument, who opened the tomb? Nobody opens tomb. It's a monument for David. We call it David's tomb. The Muslims changed this place to a mosque. And when they changed this place to a mosque, they changed the upper room to a mosque above this building. A huge tomb behind me, and I don't know really how you visualize David. A big man, small man, I don't know. What's your own idea? A little sized man, you know, in the book of Samuel, you can visualize this man. He was a little small sized man. Remember when Samuel went to anoint him instead of Saul, he did not like him. I saw him a little man, and all the time he used to imagine, to picture in his brain what King Saul is, a huge man. David was a little man. See, the tomb is a huge tomb. It is built up to be a tomb. Come and see. Take a look. Take a look. And keep going, please. Take a look and keep going.
Is that what it's called, a Torah?
Yeah.
Tomb of David.
I mean, the Torah's on top. Torah. And the Persians were 614.
604. Ram. Take a look from here because the other group is a big group. Who else? Take a look to David's tomb, what it looks like before the other group is coming. Okay. Please. All of us are here.
Channel.
Take a look. Yeah. It's a holy place.
Take it off.
That's Arabic, isn't it?
Right. We used to call it the upper room. What is upper room?
Second floor. Second floor.
Second floor. You know, indeed, as I told you, I've been to America many times. You have many upper rooms in America. I noticed really most of the houses I visited in America, you have the first floor where you have, let us say today, like kitchen and dining room in your country, and living room, first floor. And then you have stairs, and then you go to upper room, where today you have your bedrooms, see. But if you go to our country, we have really like this. First floor, as you saw down below, the steps as you see here, and then you go to upper place like this. The upper place where we are is for the guest always. So if you come to my home 100 years ago, to my father's house, we had really the same like this, exactly. First floor was for the family, was for us, as bedroom, as where we eat, where we stay, we sleep, everything in the first floor. Then we have stairs to go up, and then we have a room above the floor, like this exactly. If we have guests, the guest goes always to this place. When you come up to this place, you have what? Always furnished, you have a furniture. That furniture, what furniture? You have mats to sit on, mats. You have a pillow, or how we say, something to rest when you sit, like an armchairs, small ones on the floor, not chairs as today. Like cushion, how you say, cushion, that will be behind you when you sit. And they put in front of you a big tray, so all of you, suppose you are 5, 6, 7, 8 guests, all of you eat from the same plates. You see, you sit all of you the same level and the same floor, and all of you eat from the same plates. See, this is the Middle East really culture. And the one you love, you give him to eat from your food. You see. In the Middle East, you declare your love on the tables. See, you love somebody, you give him a dip. You love somebody, you say, you drink my cup. You cannot say, no, I am not thirsty. Even if I drink, you know, let us say, shh. Hey. You drink a cup, you cannot say I'm thirsty. You have your cup of wine, I have my cup of wine. I give you my cup to drink, you have to drink it. You don't drink from your cup, you drink my cup. See? And you notice really, this people, Middle East people, you know, the moment I give somebody on the table to eat, you say, he loves her, he loves him, she loves him, he loves that. This is the way we declare love on the tables in the Middle East. But we have to sit all of us the same level. Same level. And usually really, and we don't exaggerate, I don't like the Vinci Last Supper. You remember how he painted the Last Supper, the Vinci. And really, in our country, you know, the best guest sit near the entrance to the left. The second one to the left. The best entrance. So the best guest always, when I go inside, one here, the second one to the left is number one guest in our home. You remember how the Vinci show us, where is the best guest according to the Vinci? In the middle. In the middle. No, not in the Middle East. Say now. The first two, you see, we sit like U in English, like the letter U in English. Now here I have two. You see, it's up here. Jesus would be here, exactly. And John would be here. Sorry. Judas would be here. John is here. See, John is here. Peter is here. Peter and John always ready to go to serve, to help, always. So those who go to help, to serve, to bring something, they sit where? Yeah, so quickly you go, you don't serve anybody. And you try it and you see really, or try it and sit U-turn sometimes like you like this, and look how is the main one really is the second to the left. All the eyes will be up on him. What happened in the upper room? Jesus blessed the bread and the wine. What happened in the upper room? The Spirit was given to those who've been to the upper room. The Spirit was given upon those who've been to the upper room. Two important things. The building, we had a building like this, destroyed by the Persians, rebuilt by the Crusaders. Everything here is a crusade, really. 1536, the Turks, the moment the Suleiman the Magnificent came to visit Jerusalem from Turkey, the first thing he did really in his visit, he killed the two civil engineers, I told you about them, and then he came here, he visited David's tomb. He was inspired by David, his father's name. I mean, his name was Suleiman. He changed the upper room and David's tomb to a mosque. The upper room, this is the mihrab, you see this one? This is the Muslim mihrab. When the Muslim pray, they face south. See? And then you have the two windows. These are famous two windows. We wish that they did not restore them. They finished restoring them last month, really. This one and this one. Turkish ones. And look, the tiles are from the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This place was with the Muslims until 1939. 1929. Until 1929 with the Muslims. Then they gave back David's tomb, and then they gave back this building to the Christians in one condition. It is no man's land. It's not Catholic, not Orthodox, not Anglican, not nobody. It's really is the only way to solve the problem. For whom you give it. Indeed, for whom you give it back. And your neighbors from Louisiana love this pillar very much. Look how the Muslims, they live the pillar in this. They use it, but they live it. The question, this is one of the most beautiful crusade pillars, really. Okay, what you see here, you see the bird, we call the pelican. Pelican, you see it?
Pelican.
It's in the shape of a cross, right? And you know the story of the pelican, it's a French legend that if there is no water and no food to his chicks, what he does, he opens himself and he gives water to his chicks and he gives food from himself. This is the French legend. And the pelican is the flag of Louisiana. If you have any neighbors from Louisiana, they love it really very well. This came from inside, really. If this is the tomb, this is the upper room, nobody sees it. But
David was buried in his hometown. Right. This is just the traditional site. This is Gehenna, where they used to sacrifice their firstborn children.
no, just one notch. Remember, Peter gave the testimony, and then 3,000 people
3,000 baptized
accepted Christianity. The first Christians. Between the first Christians, we had Arabs. They were Arabs.
On the north side of the
New
wall
gate to the
city.
right. See the new gate?
New gate on the north side.
See, that's going to be the leather gate. These are the buildings, traffic garden too. I said, be sure to stay together. Watch for pickpockets.
$20 bookmarks for $1. 20 for $1, the bookmark. $20 for $1, the bookmark.
Not even all the noise.
Oh, I know it. This is the kind of garden you'd expect Joseph of Arimathea to be buried in.
understand you're a nice church group together. I'm told there are some students here as well. Is that right?
Right.
I hope they're treating you well, or you're treating the rest of them well. I don't know. This is an English site, as you may know. You may detect that I don't have an accent, and you do. I think you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. And this is a special place to many people. It is run by an English Christian organization. It's only been going for about 100 years. And a little later on, your leader tells me, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and you will be told there that that has been, as indeed it has, the traditional site for where Jesus was crucified and buried ever since about 300 years after Jesus. This one, as I say, has only been going for about 100 years, but suggests to you that Jesus could have been crucified here and buried in the tomb we've got in the garden. I would like to begin by saying two things, and I hope you can get these clear. First, as a Christian myself, I am absolutely sure that Jesus died on a cross in Jerusalem for your sins and mine. And that when he was placed dead in the tomb, I am absolutely sure that God raised him from the dead. Now let me tell you what I'm not sure about. I am not sure exactly where the cross was placed, and I am not sure in which tomb Jesus was buried. And I hope you can understand that my uncertainty about that does not affect in the very least my certainty of what Jesus has done for you and me. And I'm simply going to tell you why it could all have happened here. And then when you've seen the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as well, you want to make up your mind as to which you think is the right place, that's your problem. They are very different, as you will see, but that will be your experience. Now, this is a possible place where Jesus was crucified. You see that cliff there, and you can see halfway up it, there are two big holes in it. With a bit of imagination, you can say that looks like the face of a skull. And you may know that the Bible says that Jesus was crucified at a place called Golgotha, or Calvary. Golgotha is an Aramaic word, Calvary is a Latin word. They both mean the same thing, the place of the skull. And there was an Englishman in the last century called General Gordon. You may never have heard of him, but you know all about General Lee, don't you? General Gordon and General Lee were the same kind of people. They were both Christian men, and they both lost the wars they were involved in. But General Gordon used to spend time in that house at the top of the wall there behind you, and from there, looking across at this cliff, it looks even more like a skull than it does from here, and he asked the question, could this be Golgotha, or Calvary? It's called Gordon's Calvary in the guidebooks because of that. And because of his influence, they looked into the background of this to see whether there was any possibility that this was true. They discovered some interesting things. You are looking at a great big hole in the ground. This cliff is one end of it, and you can see again that the city wall over there is on the top of another cliff. This is the northern end of Mount Moriah. You know that name, I expect, as the hill on which the Temple Mount is at the far end, where the Jewish temples were, and where 1,000 years before the first temple, Abraham is believed to have sacrificed Isaac. This is a place of special connections, both for Jewish people and for Christians. This end has been used as a quarry to take the stone out to build buildings in the old city. In fact, part of it over there is called Solomon's Quarries, where you can go in and see where they cut out the stone, and Jewish people believe that is where Solomon's engineers and architects got the stone for building his temple 1,000 years before Jesus. It stopped being a quarry sometime during the Old Testament. We don't know when exactly. It's a bus station now, as you can see and hear, and if they'd had buses in the time of Jesus, it would have been a bus station then. Because it is just outside the city wall, the Damascus Gate is just out of sight over there, two main roads met here, and it was a place where people gathered in their hundreds at the beginning and end of their journeys. If you want to catch a bus to Bethlehem today, you catch it here. If you wanted to catch a camel to Bethlehem in Jesus' time, you would have called that here. You see the kind of place that it was. And because it was crowded, it was used as a place for executing criminals. You know, don't you, that capital punishment has been widely used all over the world until very recently, always as publicly as possible, to frighten people into keeping law because they could see what happened to those who didn't. And first of all, the Jews used this as a place for executing their criminals. And you know that the method they used was stoning. What you may not know, and I've had this on good authority from Jewish people, is that the official way of stoning is not to throw stones at people. That may surprise you, because if you know about the story of the stoning of Stephen, the first Christian martyr, he clearly died by having stones thrown at him. Some people believe that it actually happened here. But that, I believe, was a lynching. You know what that means? People take the law into their own hands because they were so angry with him. But do you remember what happened to Jesus when he went to preach at Nazareth? They didn't like what he said. They took him to the brow of a hill to throw him over. They didn't succeed. What they were trying to do was to stone him in the official way, because they stoned people here by throwing them over the top of a precipice like that. And if by any chance the person was not dead when he got to the bottom, they would drop stones on him from the top. Gory details, I know, but that is what they did. And this was a public place and where it happened. They did have other methods as well for people for different crimes, as the Jewish Israeli guide reminded me only the other day, but the main one is in fact stone. And then when the Romans came, here was a ready-made execution site, but they brought their own method of execution, didn't they? They brought crucifixion. They took away from the people they conquered the right to impose capital punishment. If anybody needed putting to death, they would do it according to their law and using their method, and their method was crucifixion. And crucifixion is intended to take a very long time and to be watched by as many people as possible. The Romans make this perfectly clear to us in their literature. I don't know if any of you remember about the slaves' revolt in Italy. You may know the name Spartacus in a film. But they crucified 600 slaves in Italy to quell a revolt by slaves, and every one of those crosses was alongside one of their main roads. And here was the place, as I've explained, which was a bus station, in those days the equivalent of it, and they crucified many people here. There's no doubt about that at all. The doubt comes as to whether Jesus was crucified here, or whether he was crucified where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre now is. The biblical evidence is very limited. It says it was outside the city wall, and of course it would have to be. This is outside the city wall now. That was outside the city wall then, as I will no doubt explain to you when you go. And I always like to say that if God wanted us to be certain about this, I think he would have given us certain evidence in the scriptures. And because he hasn't, I am quite prepared to be agnostic about it. That doesn't prevent me from imagining it happening here, because it does bring the story to life. But I want to say that in the interest of accuracy, if Jesus was crucified here, the crosses would not be up on the top of that hill. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. I bet you've seen that. And we have an English one too. I wonder if you know it. There is a green hill far away outside the city wall. It's a beautiful hymn. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but in the interest of accuracy, the Romans would never put crosses up on the top when the crowd was down at the bottom. And you know the story in Scripture makes the cross and the crowd so close together. John and Mary, his mother, standing at the foot of the cross, and others of his friends, and others of his enemies. And they could all talk to him, shout at him, hear him what he was saying, and so on. So it would not have been up there. But you know what I mean by the Via Dolorosa? You're going to see that when you go into the old city. The traditional route along which Jesus was taken from where he was condemned to death to where he was crucified. If he was crucified where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is, the Via Dolorosa is the traditional one. If he was crucified here, it's different. It starts in the same place, but it comes out of either Herod's Gate or Damascus Gate out to this place here. And every step of the route from there to here is in fact uphill. And you remember how Jesus had been so badly treated that he wasn't capable of carrying his own cross towards his own place of crucifixion. Somebody else had to carry it for him. And he staggered literally the last few steps before he was crucified. And I'm quite sure if you would have asked Jesus, were you crucified on a hill, he would say, yes, I was. Not because the crosses were up there, but because the long walk to here was in fact uphill. So sing that hymn, but perhaps put that picture in your mind. That big hole there is not important. There are a lot of people photograph it. It's a broken water system. But it reminds you of an interesting fact that these cliffs changed their shape in the course of the centuries. Many, many years ago, that was an ordinary cliff face, but now one side has fallen out. What did that look like 2,000 years ago? Can anybody tell me? No, of course not. They had no cameras. I can tell you what the afternoon. I don't blame them at all for not expecting Jesus to rise from the dead. It's true he had said he would, but there he was, and he was dead. And the only thing they thought they could do for him was to give him the best possible burial. And how full of despair, sadness they must have been. But how it all changed for them on Easter Day, as I trust it has for you, and as it has for me. So would you like now to follow me down into the garden with those little...
That's all right, that's all right.
We're now going through the garden to the garden tomb. This is a beautiful place, beautiful flowers, well kept. Old trees.
Down here to go back up the path, sit in that sunny place up in the corner, and you've got as long as you want there. All right, for you? Thank you. Yes. I say as long as you want until 12 o'clock. That'll be pleasant. That gives you quite a long time, eh? Nice long sermon somebody can preach. I don't think we'll take that. Come along down. Now I could have stopped you half at the top up there, but I didn't because of that meeting there conducted by some of your own fellow countrymen. I didn't want to distract them, so I'll talk to you down here. But on the tree you pass by up there, just where the garden is working, there is this same picture. And this is a picture of a very large water cistern which would have been immediately underneath your feet while you stood there. It holds 900,000 litres of rainfall when it is full. You know about this lovely country that it never rains in the summer, and if it doesn't rain in the winter, they get rather anxious. They're getting anxious at the moment. You shouldn't be enjoying this lovely, warm, sunny weather. I wonder if in honour of your your Israeli friends, you should be praying that the Lord would make it rain, possibly adding that you don't want it to rain until after you've got home. But this reminds us, doesn't it, what a precious commodity. If that surprises you, may I remind you that this part of the world has been governed by Muslims from about 650 AD after Muhammad died until 1917 with the brief interlude of the Crusades. During that time, many Christian and Jewish sites, for that matter, were neglected or forgotten, sometimes even destroyed. So it doesn't rule it out. It's only been recently discovered. And it's an interesting tomb. If you look up here, from where those green plants are there, around the corner, up round the top until you get to that one down there, you can see a sort of arch shape. And that is believed to be the remains of a building outside this tomb. We used to do this for the tombs of important people. It became a sort of shrine, we believe, and we believe it was a Christian shrine. You see the sign here, square, and it goes down like that, shape at the bottom. And that is called anchor cross. It's a combination of a cross and an anchor, and was used as a Christian symbol. And therefore this had some kind of connection with Jesus. This channel here is where the rolling stone would have been. So when the tomb was discovered, no stone was found. We don't know what happened to it, but there obviously was one in the original design. Remember the Easter story? Who's going to roll the stone away? They arrived and found it had been, not to let Jesus out, but to show that the tomb was empty. There wasn't one here, as I say, and we don't know what happened to it. Behind you, there is a stone brought from somewhere else. That's what they look like. The idea is to be able to roll them across the entrance so that the tomb can be securely closed and at the same time opened from time to time to bury later members of the same family. Now, one look at that stone, comparing it with this door, shows you it's nothing like big enough. I'm actually standing on a step about 6 inches high, but I am 6 feet tall. I'm just a little bit taller than the door at the moment. But if you can imagine a rolling stone big enough to cover this door, it would be so big that nobody could make the slightest use of it. The archaeologists tell us that the height of the door of this tomb as it is now is exceptionally great. That is the normal height for a tomb of this kind. The entrance does not have to be large. In fact, the smaller it is, the more secure it is, and the more effective that stone will be in its more practical use. Why then is it as tall as this? The archaeologists suggest the reason is that a long time ago it became a place of pilgrimage, just as it is now. And so you could go inside more easily than you otherwise would have been able to, just as we believe it's possible many people would have done centuries ago before it disappeared for all those Muslim years. The blocks are here because when it was discovered it wasn't very safe, but it's perfectly safe to go inside now. Now here I've got a ground plan of the tomb to show you what you will see, and where my finger is where the entrance is. And when you go inside, you will go into a big square room, and you will see two things at once. First of all, it is not a cave. It has been cut out of the solid rock. And secondly, it is very large. 20 people could stand in there without any problem at all. It is called the weeping chamber, where the mourners would be. The more room for mourners, the more important the person who is going to be buried in the burial chamber. I've told you, have you noticed, 3 things which are true of the tomb of Jesus and of this tomb? First, it had a rolling stone. Secondly, it was not a cave, but was cut out of the rock. Thirdly, it was the tomb of a wealthy and important person. I'm not trying to prove this was the tomb. All I'm saying is that if you want to see the kind of tomb in which Jesus was buried, you're not going to go far wrong with this one. And now I'm going to tell you a 4th way in which it's like the tomb of Jesus. Because this burial chamber is only half finished. If Jesus' body was put here, it would have to have been put in this loculus, as it's called, which, as you can see from the plan, is at the back on the right. You can see the end where my finger is. There is a pillow where the head would be, and the far end has been cut out of the wall to make room for the feet of an adult. This one down here, just inside on the right as you go in, no proper pillow for the head, and not hollowed out the far end, so that is not ready for an adult body. And nobody knows what the middle bit is really all for. Now that's rather odd, isn't it? A half-finished burial chamber. But so was the tomb of Joseph. His tomb, do you remember, was being prepared. The custom of those days, he was getting it ready for when he would die, and he and his family would be buried there. He was not expecting to die just yet, but in that crisis, when they needed a tomb quickly, you remember about the fact that the Sabbath was due to begin on Good Friday sunset, as we would call it. Jesus' body had to be buried by then. He made his tomb available. I believe he did it on a permanent basis. What else could he believe? When the tomb was found empty on Easter Sunday morning, would he not have said, I will leave it exactly as it was, so that people can come and see for themselves when this event happened, and I'll make another one for myself and my family in due course. Again, it doesn't prove it, but it coincides, you see, with what the Bible tells us about the tomb of Jesus. So, when you go inside, let it remind you very vividly indeed of what happened on that first Easter day. And because of that, Jesus is alive today. I don't know what your Christian history has been, but when I was a schoolboy of 16, brought up to know the facts of the Bible, knowing what happened in theory on Easter Day up here, if somebody pointed out to me, more important than that is to know down here that Jesus is a living person in my own heart. And I came to know Jesus in a very simple way. I trust you've had that same experience too. And this tomb will remind you that Jesus, if he ever was in a tomb, is certainly not in a tomb any longer. He's alive and well, and the head of your church, and I trust the head of your lives as well. So go inside and have a look. You go in about 10 at a time, don't stay too long, and then make your way back up to the corner. When you finish your service, the way out eventually is through the shop. If you want to buy this booklet where I showed you the pictures, it's there. I'm not trying to be a salesman, but people do like to take it away with them, and if you've enjoyed your visit, we might remind you to pray for us as well. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Here's the rock. And this is the trough in which the stone that was laid in front of the tomb would have been laying. This is inside the burial garden tomb. Just go ahead.
Where's the one they were talking about that was like, is this the one he was talking about?
Is that the finished one? See the place where the head's cut out? See, this one doesn't have any head part?
There's where the head would be. The head is cut out.
Oh, okay.
That side is not.
No, I think that's for the feet.
This one over here?
This end was for the head. See,
The hewn out part was for the feet. The pillar was this end for the head. That side isn't finished yet.
First statement is found in Luke 23:34. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Luke 23, verse 43, he said, "Truly I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise." The third statement our Lord made was in John 19, recorded in John 19:26 and 27. He said, "Woman, behold thy son, son, behold thy mother." He said in John 19:36 that I am thirsty. In Matthew 27:46, he says, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," or my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" In Luke 23, verse 46, he said, "Into thy hands I commend my spirit." Then, John 19, verse 30, it is finished.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So cherish the cross, the cross, till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. After Jesus was buried in a tomb nearby, on the first day of the week, he arose from the dead. Lo, in the grave he lay, Jesus my Savior, waiting the coming day. Jesus my Lord, up from the grave he arose, with a mighty triumph o'er his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with his saints to reign. He arose, he arose, he arose, he arose, hallelujah, Christ arose. They washed his face, Jesus my Savior, vainly they still
on them? Was that the idea? Tread them out?
When you pay me after you go to America, you send me a personal check. We still have them here in this country. And indeed, I say this is honestly to my friend, Dr. Abouin and Mouyen. After I came to Jerusalem, 1978, please really, I understand the Palestinian problem better than before. The problem, the leaders of the Arab Palestinians are from Jerusalem. This is the problem. If they are not from Jerusalem, we not have Palestinian problem. That's it. Pay now. Take it now. Later you pay. Later you pay. After 10 years, 15 years, you pay later. We still have them here today. We still have them. Yes, sorry, the woman or the cave. You see the cave there? The cave. That is the quarry of Sadakaya. Under the ground, you can go about 600 yards. It's a quarry under the ground, really. About 600 yards you go.
Tunnel of Solomon.
What is a small brown door here?
This is really goes to an Arab store underneath. Underneath is a cave. Also quarry, part of the quarry. The quarry had lots of sides.
East side of the wall.
Yeah, there are really lots of sides, lots of little passages. They go here and there. You know, the government closed all of them. Yalla, here we go. Be together. Please have pickpockets. Be careful. You are responsible for yourself. George is going to wait for me near Hebron, near Jaffa Gate. Okay? 1 hour.
Go into the gate, the old city.
1 and 2 We started meeting in Jerusalem in the upper room, and this apartment.
Where the church started here in Jerusalem.
Gone over to another place.
That's where the church started down there on the 2nd floor.
In the 1960s. Not the original church in Jerusalem.
Yes. This is the Damascus gate.
No, Damascus down there.
What gate? What gate is this?
This is.
I could just stop by.
What's the English name for this? Babylon.
Is that Herod's gate?
Herod's gate.
Please stay together.
Enters on the inside of Herod's gate.
We just came in Herod's gate. The old city of Jerusalem.
Well, we don't want to get stuck.
Well, I'll just hold on to it.
Let's go.
Furniture, Tim.
Your rugs.
Well, there's the rugs.
They got a water back there. I would like pictures of that one.
Checker stuff.
No, nice.
Yeah, we're gambling again.
Take a look at the uniforms on our streets. Did you get a picture?
Yeah, sucking on that pipe. Little Arab boys, they must be their home. Kind of streets that Jesus would have walked down.
Get down here to the steps. Could be grounds for being arrested in the steps.
Smokers in Hello.
Okay.
What is this? It's got a name. We gotta find this guy.
Hundreds of these.
Hey, you.
Look at this banana.
Oh, really?
Oh, yuck.
Yes, buddy, let me give you this paper.
Back there was a gentleman that worked on shoes, so he would be a lowly person.
Yeah. Incredible. Olive wood shop.
Wow. They make it right there.
There's your hamburger.
Yes. Is that a burger?
Look at the way they're cooking.
That was hamburger.
Peter was in prison. You see here, say there's a house here, a church, a Greek Orthodox church. They call it the prison of the Apostle Peter.
Stand over to one side, please.
You see? Yeah, yeah, please. Look here. Come down, you see it. See, the Apostle Peter prison. Apostle Peter prison. Remember, Peter was imprisoned in the palace of Antipas. At night, the angels released him. They came, released him, the angels. And he went to where? He went to the upper room. And when they listened to his voice, a young girl, her name was Rhodia. She recognized him from his voice. Then they thought that she's mad. They told her he's in the prison. Very much possible that this is the place where he was imprisoned in. To the right.
Away from the wall.
They have the donkeys through here too.
Oh, good. Keep thinking of people buy for her. Well, what did you get in it? Well, how about English? Oh, you studied in English. Okay. That's all right.
Now we'll just be going down to the old city.
We're in the old city right now.
Oh, old city, but I mean going toward Harrods. The Harrods.
I'm not sure what.
Palace or whatever.
Let's pull out the map. Look this in. You see these old streets here, we walked on a lot. You watch out. Something's obvious about this place. You better watch out or you'll be run over.
See the you just remember, it's not only really, we don't come only to walk in the old city. We will walk slowly. There are many things to see in the old city. For instance, the Catholics, they call this walk the way of the cross, Via Dolorosa, you know, Via Dolorosa. I was 2 months ago really with Catholic groups.
Against the wall, please.
I used to make the walk with the Catholics 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it. They pray here all the way, first station, second station, third station, fourth station, fifth station. There are 14 stations in the cross. Now why we make it 5:30 in the morning? So nobody invites us to his shop. That's it. Easy, let them pray. And many churches are closed, no need. There is one of the very famous building here. This building, you see the arch where you see the two windows? Can you see the two windows? Very well-known arch in Jerusalem. Of anybody in the world remember this arch? That's the arch of the Ikshi Homo. Ikshi, behold the man arch. We believe Pontius Pilatus washed his hands above that arch. This is how we believe. I look straight, you see straight ahead, above the road, the two windows are really in all the books you buy, in all the slides, in all the video cassettes, you have that arch. This is original, that was not torn down. When Titus destroyed the whole city, he did not destroy the arch of the Ikshi Homo. He did not destroy the Wailing Wall. Two original pieces we can see from the time of Herod the Great in Jerusalem, the arch of the Ikshi Homo and the Wailing Wall. The others they are reconstructed. There was a very big building in the time of Herod, huge building here. The name of the building used to be called the Antonia. The name was Antonia, built by Herod, named it after his friend Mark Antony, and gave it to the governor of Palestine. His name was Pontius Pilatus at the time of Jesus. We believe traditionally the Lord was tried in this place. He was tried in this place. And then Pontius invited him. He said, you like to carry your cross, you carry it. Indeed, when we read the gospel, we know that Pontius wanted to help Jesus. But Jesus was not in need of this help. Yeah, he sells the way of the cross for $1, for $50, either, if you like it, here in his hand.
With the cross, really?
Gathering, drill. Cassette video, film.
I have also a video that was not torn down by Titus.
This is original, was not torn down. Look at these rugs, Tim.
Machine.
Got to slow him down a little bit.
What are we looking at here? The machine.
Here you go, Tim. There's some. That's some of the original stuff.
It's come to me a moment to tell you what is here and what you will do here, if you like. Please. You see, this is really a special visit to this mall. Indeed, this is how you have in your country. Those departments. Here, the owner, many owners, they put many little shops under one roof. Whatever you like, antiquities, you buy antiquities. And antiquities are really authentic antiquities with certificate. If you like to buy real antiquities, you must have a real certificate from the Ministry of Culture. Until now, Israel is one of the very few countries in the world, not much really countries like this, we still can, until now, buy and sell antiquities. And we can also sell it to outside the country. One of the very few countries in the world. Second, some people love icons. I don't know if you love icons, but we have authentic icons. We're coming from with the Russians. You remember we had those newcomers from Russia. They brought all their furniture in one luggage. One luggage they brought with them lots of real icons. You had lots of rugs. I told you the story of the rugs. It is real, authentic, honest story of the rugs. We have them in here. We have also many kinds of carving everywhere, and also pottery and many other things. Many other things. Remember, what you buy is really you buy. What you do not buy, just take a look, see. Also, we have something for your heads, for if you like women, you like some traditional clothes, if you like something, Bedouin clothes, whatever you can find here. Take your time. You also have restrooms straight to the left, all the way. You have some drink, like cold drink or hot drink, you have anything. We will take, this is like, let's say 11:20. We will leave from here, we will see. But 12 o'clock, okay, so take.
Bedouin
facial
veil. And that would be what her dowry would be on these coins.
She would wear her wealth. There's a note.
Should be not bad, nothing special. There you go.
Yeah, let's see. Here's a dress here that someone might really enjoy.
Excuse me, no taking in the shop.
Is that the one that you want right there?
Yes, don't you think I'd look lovely? Where that?
I was trying to get Tim to buy it for his wife.
Oh, it's a skirt. I think your wife might.
She'd beat me up.
I don't know. I saw her in the airport.
Those bottles are too big there, but I may find me some bottles here. See these hats? If you want to know what our shopping experience is like, just look at all of the olive wood. Most of them hawk this. This guy is saying the more you buy, the more we love you.
Here you go, Tony.
Incredible.
The more you buy, the more we love.
Money home.
That's probably what he's gonna charge.
$2 for the kitchen. $2.
What you need this in your, out in your office there.
Spittoon?
Yeah. They don't tell how much. Hey, this is good. Yeah, turquoise thing. But some of this stuff is expensive. This little oriental case here. Sort of smells down in here. What is this? Big teapot.
Certainly looks that way, doesn't it?
I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
Some serious tea drinkers.
Yes. Here's some of that Turkish coffee. It's about like 40 weight motor oil.
You know which silver coin was kosher from the temple? What is this one with the bird on it? What is it? No, the one, so, yeah, the shiny one. Yes. That's not. Yeah, let me see. What's his name? Okay. $50.
What's he selling the Widow Max?
Yeah, that's some of the real crude coins, like in the tray, just like widow's mites.
Yes.
Hey, Mike?
Yes, brother.
It's going to be about, probably around 8 o'clock. That's okay? Okay.
Something like that, what would it cost me?
Let's see whether we got the shaft or.
Yeah, we're gonna, refunds in the bus.
There's a buffalo nickel down there?
Yeah, there are some. Yeah.
He's selling a can of vitamin 25.
Yeah.
Nothing special.
Reckon I ought to get me some vestments.
Some what?
$1,500 for $8 grand for some of this stuff.
Look at this jewelry box. Velvet on the inside.
Tim, come on down. This looks more like we're in Bible place. You
bet it's going to be discovered in 1983.
Well, it smells dusty like a cave, doesn't it? There's no telling. I bet this is where people live in places like this.
Well, no doubt that's probably where they had the fire.
You shine, kid.
Of course, for tennis shoes, they'd been tennis shoes, these went out of business.
Well, Nike put these people out of business here. This is my Crimson Tide hat. Doesn't quite fit, but it's got the elephants on it, and it is the Alabama colors. Did you not buy you something? You said you dusted all you want to dust, right?
No, there's two things I did like.
They didn't have my hobby dolls.
This is coming out of the bathroom. I'm going to go outside for Tim. That's the bathroom.
Yeah, that's hand done.
When the,
How much is one? How much one of those cost?
$3,000 here.
Did you price
That
one?
one in there was.
$3,000. Oh. There's a couple. There's a couple in the bathroom.
That's silk. Go feel it.
You guys didn't buy anything?
Coca-Cola.
Which would have probably cost me a lot more than a steak, but it's pretty.
No, that's the parking side. Oh.
50% off in the show, whatever you buy. We don't let the guy ship half price.
$50 way of the cross. If you like it, $50.
That's the best deal.
$2 for $1.
$2 for $1. That's your best buy. $2 for $1. Little dress for $1. Little dress for $1.
Elvis Presley?
Bedouin dress.
Bedouin.
$1 for the Bedouin dress. For $1. Got your best buy and don't miss it.
What do you mean by $1 for a Bedouin dress? Watch out.
Don't you know when Jesus was walking down this way that these people would be saying, carry your cross for $1.
Continuing down the old city road, also known as the way of the Via Dolorosa.
Where Ran? I know you love rugs. The best place really for rugs is this place. See?
If you want to put you in don't go.
What? Look, if you love to come after we finish this afternoon, please, the best place for rugs in Jerusalem.
How much this rug?
1 square meter, $800. That's 2,000 stitches. 1,000 stitch, 1 meter, 500.
How many do you want?
He said $1,000 per square meter.
800.
800 per square meter.
Those are.
That's a 2 meter.
Yep.
That one's 2 meters.
I didn't measure. Didn't look at it.
To the side.
Clear the way.
Move or you'll be flat as $1.
Yeah.
Where were the people wanting the pizzas? I didn't want to be in the middle of your picture.
And this is one of the,
Yeah, the rug I got in the foyer.
What?
The rug I got in the foyer. Silky. $1,500. Here in Israel. Cheap ones. Yeah, these are the identical.
Yeah. Big sale, big sale. What's that?
One of those things for your head, you need one.
I already got one of those.
Number 5. Fourth station behind you, first station, second station. These things happened with Jesus when he carried his cross. Some of these additional.
This is where they believe Simon the Cyrene helped Jesus.
$4 film, 36 pictures for $4. Good price for film, battery. Who asked for a film for $4? Kodak color films.
Look at here. There's an inflatable. You have to watch these people coming around you now.
Man, that's right.
Get too close, I'll push them off.
That's where Simon Serena what? That's where Simon Serena was to take across the teeth. No,
You have to signal when you're gonna stop.
Need a beach or home.
Imagine they are. Well, what?
You're probably right.
Are we still on the Visit Road?
You know what? I'm not sure if we are or not. I think probably are.
I just wonder if we were still on the Visit Road.
Happy birthday. Come back again.
Romanian.
Oh, yeah, Simon. Simon. Okay, yeah, I got you.
10 minutes to make gold or silver names. Tim. That gold or silver names.
$15, 15 only. 100% off. Are they all there?
100% off.
That means they're free. I'll take one for nothing.
Delivery charges are rather expensive though.
Okay, that's one. Come here.
Hello, madame. Hello.
Looks like somebody hit him on top of the head with a hammer.
I believe it. Oh. Well, watch it, little boy. He didn't take nothing, but boy, he sure bumped her. No, thank you. Hey, I like those vests there. That's a good big size. How much the vest?
$40.
How much are your plates?
Look here, that old Jerusalem.
$5.
Where's your poster, Tony? Which one? That one? Oh.
It's the poster that
I'm looking.
has all the women on it, not
I
just
saw the
Bedouin.
Bedouin customs.
Hey, there's a skirt. Holy Rock Cafe.
Holy Rock Cafe.
Holy Rock Cafe.
Hey, Tim.
We came down, so I had to come back up. That's true.
They ever make
Why was he getting you present?
they're gonna power to your
That's where well, he knew I wasn't gonna buy it, so he said $40. He turned away. Tabasco Hotel and Tea Room. There's some rude and crude little people coming in here, aren't they? I'll step on them.
Tony, realistically, you could have pissed off all the women who stopped in the shop too.
Hello. Sadia.
Those are hand woven. Yeah.
Just that type of a leg of
Fish market. Fish market.
There's that little bitty guards, don't there?
That's sea fish, man.
Fish, man.
Fruits almonds. Yeah.
Can be bought.
Look, there's your coins. Now what he could have done, he could have said from that end of the hall to this end of the hall we'll meet. Oh man, it was...
The only thing I haven't seen is that harvest stuff yet. We probably will.
Look at the meat. There's your lamb. There's Tim's lamb right there.
Rack of lamb.
Yeah. This guy's roasting you one here. What is that? See, if you stay in the front, you could buy something and drop back to be the back of the line.
This is like awesome, man.
Hey, I'd like other shops than this more. See, make names in Hebrew and silver.
Nowhere. Nowhere. Where's Everett? I wonder.
Barber shop.
They didn't count 41 back there either. 41. I never seen that. I don't think so. No.
They're now going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Oh, really?
One looking for me.
جيت قلت لك ابراهيم، قلت لي الصور محطين هناك. ابراهيم هاي مش طريقه مضبوطه. بحب اوريك اياها بالانجليزي هلا السفر كارت رايت. Take a picture and let's go.
This is built.
This is the traditional site of the burial place of Christ.
This building today, the building of the Holy Sepulchre, as you see it, this place in the time of Jesus was outside the walls of Jerusalem. Although you walk inside the city walls today and you feel that you still are inside the holy walls, but in the time of Jesus, this area was a quarry outside the walls of Jerusalem. Quarries, if you neglect the quarry will be a garbage place where people go to put their garbage outside the city. And they used to crucify thieves and troublemakers on those quarries or garbage places always. The area where they used to be used for crucifying people was always outside the walls of Jerusalem. The garden tomb you came from, also it was outside and still outside. And this is also was outside, but today it's inside because of the Turks and because of Herod Agrippa. In the time of Herod Agrippa, the area was enlarged, Jerusalem was enlarged. Agrippa was at least 10 years after the crucifixion of Jesus. There were really many little small chapels here. The Crusaders made what you see, 1100, the 12th century, the Crusaders made a box, a big box, and all the churches before the Crusaders, they were put underneath one roof, what we call it the roof of the Holy Sepulchre. So this is the Holy Sepulchre, the entrance, the Crusade entrance. To the right you go inside, you go to Calvary, Greek Orthodox and Roman Catholic place, and to the left you go to the empty tomb of Jesus. Also the tomb here is empty, and I thought really you are not interested to see here this building, but here you are. Let's go inside.
Let's walk through quickly.
Yeah, walk through quickly.